Greetings, my viewers. It's the Ferrarinator here, and I'm going to talk about the most annoying category of cars: sports utility vehicles, lifestyle cars, and finally, guaranteed moneymakers. First, I'll go on the history of SUVs. Secondly, I will give my ultimate rant on SUVs. And finally, I will give solutions to get less of these nightmares on the roads. The earliest SUVs were based on longer wheelbase wagon-type cars, like the Chevrolet Carryall Suburban, rear-wheel drive only, then the Gaz 61 4x4, the first Russian SUV made in 1938. When Pearl Harbor got destroyed in 1941, America gave the contract to Willys, and they made the Jeep 4x4 MB, formerly known as the military truck. Fun fact, the contract saved Willys from being bankrupt. 1947 created the Land Rover Series 1, which is based on the Willys Jeep MB. In 1961, International debuted the Harvester Scout that was supposed to be more sophisticated than its predecessors. Then rivals like Jeep came up with the Wagoneer in 1963. Ford jumped onto the scene with the Bronco in 1966. Then Toyota with its Land Cruiser FJ55 in 1968. General Motors jumped onto the scene with its Chevrolet Blazer / GMC Jimmy in 1969, and the original Range Rover in 1970. Then the Corporate Average Fuel Economy CAFE standard was ratified in the 1970s to regulate the fuel economy of passenger vehicles. Car manufacturers evaded the regulation by selling SUVs as work vehicles. The popularity of SUVs has skyrocketed with urban drivers. In the 1980s, they introduced the Land Rover Defender 110/90 that replaced the Land Rover Series 3 in 1986, which the Defender's many adverts were very brash and bold. For example, climbing a dam in Wales, which Richard Hammond proved fake. SUVs became popular in the United States, Canada, India, and Australia in the 1990s and early 2000s. US car makers could enjoy profit margins of $10,000 per SUV while losing a few $100s on a compact car. For example, the Ford Excursion could net the company $18,000, while they could not break even with the Ford Focus unless the buyer chose options. 1991, Chevrolet renamed their Blazer to Tahoe, which was praised by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety that was the best in its class. 1995, GMC named the Jimmy to Yukon, which was more of a luxurious Tahoe. 1999, Porsche left Le Mans to develop their new SUV called the Cayenne and started production in 2003. 3 years later, in Sunderland, Nissan started to produce their Qashqai, which unfortunately helped the newly named crossover market in the UK to boom. I do remember a few years ago, there was an incident where an unlucky parent ran over their toddler because the front bonnet was too high. 2008, BMW introduced their third SUV called the X6, somehow which crafted its own genre called SUV Coupe. I wonder why this car was made. Even Clarkson says, it's the most useless car ever made. 3 years later, Land Rover decides to create the Evoque, which I think is the start of the money-grabbing epidemic that we still see today. 2013, Porsche somehow wanted another SUV in their range, with the Macan, which is a smaller version of the Cayenne. Fun fact, the Macan's code was called Cajun, which stems from Cayenne Jr. Sadly, 2016, Bentley made the Bentayga, Bentley's first lifestyle car ever made, to capitalize on anyone willing to fork out 135 grand on a Q7 with pizzazz. The future is going to contain a lot of these sports utility vehicles, from the Lamborghini Urus, which is coming out next year, Rolls-Royce with its Cullinan in 2019, and rumours from McLaren, Ferrari, Koenigsegg and Bugatti will make SUVs. The sports utility market is too overloaded with over hundreds in the market. Secondly, there are many pointless subgenres like the SUV coupe, like the BMW X6M. You'd be better spending 67 grand on Beats headphones, or the super SUV like the Lamborghini Urus, a super SUV that I doubt can go off-road, but can most likely reach 200 miles an hour. On the next point, lifestyle cars are mostly driven as a fashion accessory. To be honest, lots of sports utility vehicles look ugly, from the Qashqai that is as dull as dishwater to the Bentayga, which is a Q7 with ugly frog lights at the front that makes me want to wince and looks like Bentley's first hatchback on stilts. No one takes their SUVs off-road, and originally they were designed to conquer every terrain from mud to ice, but now they conquer traffic jams, school runs and nothing else whatsoever. SUVs, their habitats are the Sahara Desert or the snowy mountains, not the suburbs or cities, due to most SUVs having front-wheel drive and fake underbody crash protection. Sorry if you buy an Audi Q5, you will be going to the petrol station a lot more, with the miles per gallon between 40 to 56 miles per gallon average, compared to the Audi A5's average 42 to 71. So if you love the environment, buy the Audi A5. You can fill it with less fuel, and you'll spend less time at the loving petrol station. Also, SUVs are heavier than their counterparts and have a higher coefficient than their SUVs and saloon counterparts. In a race, I'm in a C63 AMG, and you're in a G63 AMG. The racetrack is Spa. Who do you think will win? The C63, because it has a lower center of gravity to corner better and flip on its roof less, or go in a tree less. If you like to lose and go in a tree or flip onto your roof, you're better off buying a G63. But if you're in a higher seating position, go ahead, buy it. I don't mind. But to be honest, do you really want to be in an ambulance? No, I don't really think so. Some SUVs look great as poster cars, for example the Willys Jeep MB, for being really patriotic, causing you to stand up and be proud of your country. and the Range Rover Series 1 or the Land Rover Series 1 to 3 in the Defender makes you want to keep calm and carry on. Sadly, the Ferrari SUV won't look as good as the Ferrari 5112 Testarossa because it seems like a good chance to make a quick buck, not capture the essence of what the prancing horse great. Finally, if you drive a Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG in the car park, and you park your car for 1.5 hours, 1 hour there's a Pontiac Aztek to your right, and then 25 minutes later there turns out to be a Nissan Juke next to you on the left, and you try your best to squeeze in no matter how thin or thick you are. You just can't get in because it's basically a tight space. So you're stuck there till the driver finally gets his car out. And when you do get there might be another SUV driver there. So I think you should look on the other coin. Now I'll find an alternative and obliterate these gremlins. First, the SUV coupes. These are the most annoying, useless subgenre of the group, and simply by the saloon counterparts with four-wheel drive. Secondly, the luxury lifestyle cars, like the Bentley Bentiaga and soon the Rolls-Royce Cullinan that spawned from the Range Rover, giving you the best of both worlds. But there's one problem. There's too much chrome on the luxury Q7 and the X5, so just buy the real deal than the other real deals. So that's the Range Rover. Mini SUVs like the Fiat 500X, Jeep Renegade and Peugeot 208, or is it 2008, super minis being fed steroids and being sent to the wild. Here's a secret. It's the same size as a Volkswagen Golf, Seat Leon and Ford Focus. So just buy the Volkswagen Golf GTI, Ford Focus ST and Seat Leon ST. Compact SUVs like the BMW X3, Porsche Macan and Vauxhall Antera are meh, and meh is the worst offence. And if you want to be on my good side, buy the Audi A4 Avant Allroad or buy the Volvo V60 or S60 Cross Country. To stand out, a mid-size SUV is a medium class size of SUVs whose size typically falls between that of a full-size and a compact SUV, like the Acura MDX, Volvo XC90 and the Volkswagen Touareg. The main problem here is there's an inflation in the mid-size SUV market, and the market is so generic. I would stay clear of them and buy the Audi A8, Volvo V90 Cross Country, or the Acura RLX. Full-size SUVs have greater cargo and passenger space than mid-size SUVs. Full-size SUVs are usually given higher safety ratings than their smaller counterparts. Some examples are Lexus LX, Cadillac Escalade, and the Lincoln Navigator. They're one of the biggest SUVs with the biggest problem, entering a car park space and trying to get out of the car park space. But if you want to not use any of these vehicles, here's some stuff. The Lexus LS500H, the new one from 2018, because that's large, and the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, because you can modify the heck out of it and make it over £160,000. Conclusion. Do SUVs suck? Yes and no. Yes, because there's an overflow in the market. They never really go off-road. And imagine having an Urus on a poster or a juke even. You can't. And the reason they don't suck is because of the Willys Jeep MB giving us freedom from Hitler. And if you live in a remote place, you can buy one, like the Sahara Desert or the Outback, because it's a matter of life or death and you need to get to your next destination. So you deserve one. Now you can shoot your gunshots in the comments below. And tell me how good this video was. It was amazing. And on that bombshell, stay safe and